We're continuing the step 4, part 2 on eating kosher. There's a few things we still need to add. We spoke about what food are kosher, not kosher, but now let's speak about how we should keep kosher in a kitchen or even when we travel. So we need for the food to stay kosher. Once we have kosher food, it cannot be cooked in or put hot in plates that have been used before for something not kosher. So let's say someone used a pan or a pot for non-kosher things and cooked it in it and then put it in plates. We cannot put the kosher food in those pans and pots and in those dishes, or use those dishes. So that's number one. Number two is, how do we do it? So everybody buys new dishes, or one can use plastic if one travels. And for the pots, whatever we're going to use to cook, and the oven, all that, it needs to be new, or it can be kosher also. We're going to discuss a little bit about that. So we spoke before about the fact that meat and milk cannot be cooked together or eaten together. So Jews have separate dishes, some dishes for meat, some dishes for dairy, and some people have also even for neutral, we call parav, which is neither meat, neither dairy. So we have separate dishes, separate plates, separate pots for milk, dairy and meat. Some people even do in the fridge. It's not required, but some people put in the fridge even two section meat and dairy, not to get mixed up. So one is going to use only its pots and ovens and dishes that are dairy with dairy, and what is meat with the meat pots and everything. Okay, so that's for that. If one needs to, well, I have to mention also the sinks. When you have a sink, so sometimes we put very hot pots straight into the sink where there's meat and dairy. So the ideal is to have two separate sinks. If you cannot have two separate sinks, one for dairy and one for meat, then you can put on the bottom two different metal trays, so to speak, where you're going to put, when you're going to do dishes for dairy, or put a dairy pot, and then you're going to put the metal piece that is dairy, and you switch when it's meat. That's what a lot of people do. Then, if you want to use your oven, let's say you use your oven for dairy and you want to use it not for meat, you can, on most ovens, you can use the self-cleaning system, or you can put your oven to the highest mode for 3-4 hours, and the highest temperature for 3-4 hours, and then before that you have to clean for 24 hours. You have to clean it, wait for 24 hours that is not used and it's clean, and then you can kosher it by turning it on. Now, it's not recommended to do that very often because you might destroy the oven long term doing like that. What someone can do is, let's say you're traveling, or let's say even if you're not traveling, but you want to do a dairy cake in the meat oven, so you can actually cover. You put the cake in a pan and you cover the pan 2 times, and you make sure that there's no vapor and no air going out from the cake, from the pan, and you can put the dairy cake in the meat oven. Because what happens is the smoke, the vapor creates a connection and can absorb the meat and dairy. So what we do is we cover it 2 times, and you can do that even in a non-kosher oven. Let's say someone cooked pig in an oven, and now you want to cook a nice kosher chicken. You take the kosher chicken, put it in a pan, a new pan, aluminum pan, or in a new pot, and you cover it 2 times, not in a pot, but I guess whatever you put in the oven, and you cover it 2 times. Make sure that nothing, no smoke can come out, and you put it in the oven, and your chicken will be completely kosher. You have to make sure that you don't open it while it's in the oven. You take it out if you want to open it. So microwave can be used for meat or dairy, but most people use 2 ovens, microwaves, or cover it if in the same system that I spoke about the oven. Cups, Ashkenazim use meat cups and dairy cup most of the time. According to Sfardim, the glass doesn't absorb anything, and therefore there is no need to kosher them or to use meat or dairy cups for glass cups for that. Those are the main thing. Before you use any pot, whatever let's say you buy a new set of dishes, or let's say you never actually used any of your dishes or pots, then part of it's not a koshering process, but to allow us to use it as kosher items, if they are made by non-Jews, we need to toivel them. What does that mean? That means we dip them in a mikveh, the pool of water made specifically for dishes. It can be used, or we can be dipped in a lake or in the ocean, not in a river, but in the lake and the ocean. And let's say if one is traveling and needs to bought a new pot, then you can use that. But in most places where you have a Jewish community, they have a mikveh, and you can bring your pots and dishes and dip them in there. They have special section just for, because mikveh is used also for men and women before prayer. Women not for before prayer, but for the family purity. But usually it's not the same place. So and there's a blessing that is made before that, and we dip it in the thing, and then only then can you use those new items. If you have kosher dishes or pots and pans and you never did it, you need to do it as soon as possible. One is not supposed to use the pans and the pots and all that without being first deep in the water. Toivelt, it's called toivelt. If you have used them with kosher food before, it doesn't mean that the food didn't become kosher, but you have to make sure you don't wait. If you need to kosher dishes or certain things, you can. If you have a specific question, you can ask me. There's a lot of rules, but in general, let's say you want to kosher. Let's say you put a meat spoon in a dairy pot that was hot and boiling. The spoon becomes not kosher, but if it's made out of silver or metal, you can kosher it by dipping it in boiling water. And so for many other items that are mostly made out of metal, some items are not kosherable. So I think those are the main rules. There are many more rules, but I think you have the basic. If you have question, please ask me or check online. But that's about a kosher kitchen. So happy kosher kitchen.